All right, Mike. Here we go. Logan Van Way in for the Astros. Do I even need to bother to put the score up for you guys, or can we just not talk about it? I'll put it up. Reds trailing 10-0. It was close. Then it wasn't. Then it got worse. And here we are. Ellie De La Cruz starting it off for the Reds. Mike, how's your Friday? You got big plans for the weekend? Maybe we should talk about something other than the Reds.
Just a couple soccer games. I'm hoping the weather kind of holds off. I got a buddy of mine has a couple beehives at my house. So I think he's going to be coming. Yeah. I have a little bit of a land out back where 4 beehives are. So he's coming over this weekend to go see how they handled the winter, see if they need to, and then hopefully harvest some honey from it this spring.
Okay. No allergies for the kids, I guess, to bee stings, at least as far as you know?
No allergies that I think I don't know if they've all been stung. No allergies that I know of, but I don't tend the bees. My buddy, he basically was like, hey, I'll bring them out on a trailer. I'll take care of them, and I will harvest the honey, and you just have to let it sit on your land. And I was like, cool. I'm okay with that.
I mean, bees and honey in general are pretty low maintenance, right? I mean,
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
He has it set up so it's like a box that has a bunch of different slats in it where they build their combs. So it's just you just take out the old ones, put the new ones in, and they can keep building. It's interesting though. There's not as much stuff. It's changing a little bit, but there's not as much stuff like flowering when it comes to plants. Some of these early ones are, but majority of their pollen that they're getting right now is from trees. So they're actually just back in the woods mostly. So we haven't really seen too many actual bees around, which is good. And they're far enough from the house that they don't really bother us too much.
Nice. Ellie singles to left, his third hard hit ball to left field on the day.
Oh,
not a bad sign from him if we're looking for some positives.
Sal
sends this one to right center. That'll be caught by whoever the right fielder is now for the Astros. I lost track with all the substitutions.
Yeah. That one's still Cam Smith. Same guy that started.
Cool. Great.
What about you? Any good plans this weekend?
Well, we have a soccer doubleheader tomorrow, Mike.
You still undefeated?
We are still undefeated.
There you go.
We've got 3 games left in the season. My other coach may or may not have already ordered the spring season championship medals.
Oh no. Talk about putting a jinx on the whole thing.
May or may not be putting the cart before the horse, but hey.
I know. That's
nobody knows.
It's like calling the Reds the NL Central champions 8 games ago.
Hang the banner, baby.
I know.
April NL Central champs.
That's us.
All right, 2 down. But I guess, look, I mean, at this point in the season, we beat every other team at least once so far. Many of them we've beaten twice, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a loss against the American League, but I think coming into the game, the Reds had an incredible record against American League teams. Frankly, every other team except for teams in the NL Central is what the Reds have been.
Well, they're 1-9 now against the Central.
Here, let's pull it up. I think it's 1-8, but tomato.
Well, it was a 4-game series against the Cubs, and then 2 3-game series is 10 games, and I think they just won one of them. So I think they're 1-9.
Yes, they are 13-5 in interleague play.
Yep.
About to be 13-6, but yeah, 0-4 against the Cubs and 1-5 against the Pirates.
I hope everybody watching this is locked in and ready for what I'm sure will be an enthralling box score recap from Mike here in a little bit.
Oh yeah. I stopped taking notes after the 8th. I should probably put something down for what just happened in the top of the 9th. They scored 5 runs. There you go.
I assume Reds Daily is Greg since he's got the wrench. So, but I appreciate the support, sir. Hopefully tomorrow when you're on the show, it'll be a little bit better. But yeah, it's been a rough go of it. With Nick out of town, I've had to do like 6 or 7 of these 8 losses now that the Reds have stacked up. And man, my mentals definitely need a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I can't imagine how crazy the 12-game win streak must have been for Trace and Nick back in 2023.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been insane.
Boy, do the Reds need an off day. They just, are just piling up losses without an off day until Monday. And
yeah.
Strike 3.
Steer strikes out. We'll see you guys in 4.
Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Walker. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling, and the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatteberg's a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line into right field. Junior, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, tossed the nose. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to a career of Jay Bruce.
Mike, every time I look on the schedule and I see my name on there for Chatterbox Reds, I think to myself, is tonight the night? Tonight the night we're going to turn this around? Nick Kirby's on vacation. I've had to do, I don't know, 7 of the last 8 games or something like that. And I think, tonight might be it. The Houston Astros aren't that good of a team. I mean, shoot, I was writing down the lineups because I keep score. As some of you guys might know, I keep a paper score on every single game. This one I may or may not have trailed off on the end because of how ugly it got, but I keep score. I literally had to look up the first names of like 5 guys on this team because I hadn't heard of them. They're so banged up. They've got guys who for sure would not be starting for many other teams. Their backup catcher went yard. And yet here we are yet again, almost 9 o'clock on a Friday night, hanging out with 200 plus of our best friends, wishing that we could be talking about a positive outcome for the Cincinnati Reds. And instead, here we are, lucky enough to do a show with 200 of our friends, talking about yet another embarrassing loss by this Cincinnati Reds team. A team now that, not that this is any surprise, dead last in Major League Baseball in basically every offensive category. A batting average of .218 as a team, an OPS of .686 as a team. Every single night they find a new way to embarrass us as fans. Tonight, I thought we had a chance going up against a pitcher in Mike Burrows who, quite frankly, came into this just grasping for anything, grasping for air. And he shuts out the Reds for 7 innings or whatever he ended up going. I trailed off because it just became so ugly at one point that it just wasn't even worth me keeping score. I might as well just get ready for the show instead. 7 innings of 3-hit baseball out of Mike Burrows, a guy who came into this game with a ERA hovering around 9. And like most pitchers over the last week plus, the Cincinnati Reds proved his get-right game, lowering his ERA by nearly a full point. Trace is much better at these rants than I am, but I'm getting to the point where I'm so much more fed up than I used to be after losses because it's just piling on and piling on and piling on that it's hard not to start these shows like this because they just find a new way every single night to just remind you that, hey, this team's not that good, or at least they're not playing good baseball right now. Makes me wonder if I was closer to being right when I predicted that they were going to have 78 wins prior to the Eugenio Suarez signing, or if I was closer to being right when I said they would have 85 after the Gino Suarez signing. And as it sits right now, I don't even know. Mike, welcome in. Appreciate you being on the show. We might be leaning on you to carry us a little bit here, but your thoughts on a 10-0 Reds loss?
Yeah. Tonight was a game where just from the jump, I guess the second inning, it just felt like, hey, maybe this wasn't our night. And to be honest, in the mix of 162, and otherwise I might be like, well, this happens, you have an off night and stuff like that. But when it's coming at the end of a 7-game losing streak, it's it's like, yeah, sometimes you let one get away from you, but it's just like, you can't like that. If you're going to try to break a streak, man, against a 15-23 team, like there needs to be some sort of heart. And instead it was just blah. It was just blah about everything. I was saying beforehand, is like, it's hard to feel bad. It's just like, well, the pitching did give up 10 runs, but then the offense scored 0 runs. So it's like both pitching and hitting were bad, but it's not like, you can go in and blame, any specific party on this. It's just like the whole team came out like they had just gotten punched in the face 4 times in Chicago and didn't show the fight to be able to come out and do anything about it, man. I was saying, I really feel like they need an off day badly. This team has never needed an off day more than what they need right now, just because of what's going on. I think it's sad to watch because, even when they would get a little bit of momentum going, they get a few guys on base. It was, we had the same issue of bases loaded, less than 1 out, and we can't drive the guy in. So it's just like, it's one of those things where I know there's a lot of season left. I know that we're somehow still over 500, but like, it's hard to look at what you've seen for the past all of May, basically, and be like, this team is in any way got the goods to be able to compete for, what may be a very competitive wild card position, especially when you're talking about, a national league that is as competitive as it is so far. So I know it's early, and I know mathematically there's still tons and tons of time. It's just hard to watch what we watched tonight and be like, oh yeah, this team can make the playoffs, so I'm still going to watch every night. I'm still going to suffer through, and my mood is going to be greatly dictated by how the Reds do, even though they're continuing to lose. But yeah, it's tough to watch, and it's just one of those that you don't really have. I don't think there's much. Everyone, like, the blame goes all around, and it's pretty unfortunate, unfortunately.
Mike, 8-game losing streak, right? 8 games. The Reds have been outscored 60-23. 60-23. Let that sink in. Opponents are averaging 7.5 runs per game, while the Reds are averaging less than 3.
Yeah. And that includes those 3 straight walk-off wins, right? Where those are only 1-run losses, right? So it's just like, hey, we're keeping it close in those games and so it used to be where we're losing the blowouts, but we're winning those close games, and now we're just losing all of them, right? We can't seem to get what we need out of the close games, and then when the game gets out of hand, it gets really out of hand, and there's no real way to come back from it. So it's just like, I don't know what the answer is. I guess Chase Burns is the answer tomorrow. But like, he pitched awesome last time and they found a way to lose against the Pirates. So, I don't really know, like, the answers. Like, are we missing a Eugenio Suarez this much? Like, I think about that, and it's just like, what has changed from April to May? Is it just water finding its level? Is it, we've obviously had some injuries, but like, is Suarez somebody that's able to bring a mindset of like, next at bat, we just like, you have a memory like a goldfish? I don't know what it is. It's hard to put your eye or put your finger on what is the problem, because it just seems all bad.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the 3 straight walk-offs before that with the Pirates series. So you had a loss 9-1, 17-7, and then you had the Chase Burns 1-0 loss, and then you get the 3 straight walk-offs to the Cubs, 5-4, 3-2, 7-6. And maybe it just broke the back, because then you go and you lose 8-3, and now you lose to the Astros 10-0. You mentioned needing a day off. They'll get one on Monday after this 3-game series with the Astros before the Nationals come to town. But I want to start the show. Obviously, it's not starting the show because we're 20 minutes in now. But I want to start the show with this message from Schmick, good friend of the show, obviously. At this point, it's more than just this team is not that good right now. It's more like this team is absolutely awful. And I think it's a question that needs to be asked, and a valid question is, how much of this, at least in your eyes at this point, is more of a true reflection of this team, and they're more likely similar to this 8 straight losses team, or are they closer to that 20-11 team from April?
Yeah, I don't think they are, this bad. And I still think that they are, not bottom of the division bad. I still think that they will finish above some of these teams that are above them in the division. So I don't think that I don't think that they're like as a whole that bad, but what they are struggling, I don't think, like, even in that winning streak when they were up 9 games over 500, everyone was looking at what was going on and being like, this feels unsustainable. Like this, we're walking too many guys, we're giving up, we're not hitting nearly enough. And so it feels like, while we have, completely tanked towards earth, that it's more of, I think there is a bunch of people that are underperforming that will be better. But I think it ultimately will level itself out as right around 500 where we're at, unfortunately. And in order for you to continue to stay at 500, you're going to need to see improvement from players, right? Because if they keep playing like this, they're just going to go right past 500 and keep going. So I think that they are right around a 500 team. The April made us feel like, hey, maybe we could jump out something better. But, unless something drastically changes, it feels like we're probably right at about 500. And that's just unfortunate from how excited we were in April.
Look, we talked about it even in the midst of that April magical run that they were on, that they needed to start hot because we knew that May was going to get difficult. You had the series with the Pirates, the Cubs. Obviously, you at the time, the Phillies were on the schedule. You're going to Philadelphia. You think, okay, well, they're probably not as bad as their record is right now. Then you have the Cardinals, the Mets, the Braves. Like, we knew May was going to be difficult. The challenge is that when you have such a difficult stretch, the games that you're supposed to win, you have to find a way to win. And this team right now does not have a way to find a way to win the games they're supposed to win. Because when you have a matchup of Mike Burrows on the mound, giving up 6 runs per 9, and you're throwing out there Nick Lodolo, who's supposed to be one of your go-to arms. Now, Lodolo didn't throw too bad. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. You've got to find a way to get this win. And these bats are ice cold right now, and they did absolutely nothing to get back on track. And we'll talk about tomorrow's matchup in a little bit. Yes, you've got Chase Burns, but don't look on the other side, because you're going up against Spencer Arrighetti, who's 4-0 on the season and has only made 4 starts. So there's a lot to talk about, Mike. We'll break into the rest of it in just a little bit, but are you ready for a box score recap that I know everybody in this stream is so excited to hear?
Oh, I got them. I got it ready for you.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right. Let's do, I don't have the Sharefax in front of me, so why don't you finish that? Do you want to hit that first?
We actually don't have to do Sharefax tonight.
Oh, all right.
Since you mentioned it, we certainly can.
Sure.
I mean, it feels weird not to, now that you brought it up. I mean, geez, Mike.
Sorry. Brought to you by Sharefax.
Brought to you by Sharefax Credit Union. Right now, Sharefax Credit Union has a $0 closing cost on home equity lines of credit. Obviously, terms may apply. Visit sharefax.org for more information, or give them a call. Sharefax, $0 closing costs on home equity lines of credit. I did some home renovations 2 years ago. I wish I had $0 closing costs on those. All right, Mike, hit them.
All right. The Reds look to end their 7-game losing skid coming back home, and they would face the 15-23 Houston Astros. Nick Lodolo was set to make his first start of the season, hopefully putting his blister issues behind him. But the Astros would strike first in the second inning when, with 2 outs, Bryce Matthews tripled and Zach DeCenzo homered to right before making it 2-0. Yes, I hadn't heard of them either before the beginning of this game. The next big scoring chance came in the bottom of the fourth when J.J. Bleday walked. Sal Stewart and Nathaniel Lowe singled to load the bases with only 1 out, but Spencer Steer would miss a middle fastball and pop out to right, and Tyler Stevenson struck out swinging to end the threat. Lodolo would then settle in, and then in the 6th inning, he hit Altuve with 2 strikes and then gave up a 116-mile-an-hour missile to right by Yordan Alvarez, making it 4-0. After a double by Isaac Paredes that would end Lodolo's day, he went 5 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, and only 2 strikeouts. But the Reds could not solve the Astros starter Mike Burrows, who came in with a 1-4 record and a 5.9 ERA. He has also never in his career made it to the 7th inning in a start. And tonight, he went 7 full innings with only 3 hits, 0 runs, 6 strikeouts, and 1 walk, including retiring his last 11 batters. Jose Altuve doubled and came around to score off T.J. Antone in the 8th. But in would come the Astros' league worst bullpen. Surely this would do something for the Reds. Not so fast, my friends. Tony Santillan gives up 4 runs without even getting an out, including back-to-back home runs to Zach Cole and Christian Vasquez. Then Trevino gave up 1 more to make it 10-0, and the Reds could not scratch out a run against the league worst pitching staff and the league worst bullpen. The Reds have now lost 8 straight and fall to only 1 game over 500. Hope that the crowd likes Oz the Mentalist, because the Reds during the game didn't really give them much to cheer about. That is our box score recap.
Well, when you lose a game 10-0, Mike, I think it becomes self-explanatory that you don't have a deep drive of the day. So we'll go down on the farm. Cam Collier becomes our deep drive of the day, a solo home run in the top of the first for the Chattanooga Lookouts. It was his 5th home run of the year. Win probability, Trace's favorite stat, went up 10% to 56.2%. Chattanooga led 1-0. We'll have an update on that game a little bit later in the show. The deep drive of the day is brought to you by our friends at QC Kinetix. If knee pain or shoulder pain is slowing you down, whether it's on the golf course, the pickleball court, in the gym, or hell, at the plate, it might be time to talk with the care team at QC Kinetix Cincinnati about regenerative medicine options. QC Kinetix takes a different approach, focusing on treatments designed to help your body heal and recover. They're conveniently located in Liberty Township, right across from Lakota East High School. See what the team at QC Kinetix is all about. Visit qckinetix.com or call 513-655-3356. QC Kinetix, better mobility starts with healing, not surgery. All right, Mike. Again, can't say I want to start with because we're half an hour into the show, but obviously the storyline for today was Nick Lodolo's return. You mentioned it, 5 1/3 innings. Seemed to throw the ball pretty well, but ultimately got taken advantage of when he missed his spots on several occasions. I wrote them down as we went, all 5 of the hits that he gave up. The first hit, the Yordan Alvarez, nothing he could have done about that. That was a curveball well out of the zone. Yordan went out and got it, just poked it out to right field. No faults there. However, in the second inning, he grooved a first pitch middle sinker, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball to Bryce Matthews, who sent it 104.9 miles per hour to right center, and then followed that up to Zach DeCenzo, a 95-mile-an-hour sinker that was hit 100 miles an hour, 359 feet away for a 2-run home run. And then in the 6th inning, he gave up a middle in fastball, 95 miles an hour, that Yordan Alvarez, as you mentioned, absolutely hit a laser out to right field, 116 miles an hour off the bat, and then followed that up with a thigh-high sinker to Isaac Paredes that was hit for a double out to left field. other than those 4 pitches that I just mentioned, I thought that Lodolo looked pretty good. I thought in general, for his first game back, I'd take what we got from Lodolo. Obviously disappointed in a couple of the misses that he gave up, but I think in the grand scheme of thing, coming back, I thought the performance was fine. Maybe fine's the right word for what he did. Right? I'm not pumped about it, but I can see based on his performance that he can come back and kind of be a little bit of an anchor for this rotation that's being so sorely missed right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm looking at some of the underlying metrics from his start. Obviously 2 strikeouts, you would like that a little bit more with Lodolo, but because he was getting some contact, he was actually kind of getting through these innings. Like, I think he only threw 78 pitches. So obviously he made that big mistake to Alvarez. I think he just really, I think that obviously it wasn't a good located pitch, but I think it was just so telegraphed. He just because think about the at bat before, right? Altuve swings and misses over this crazy curveball, completely misses, tries to go back to it again, hits him in the ankle. He's got 2 strikes on him, and he's angry that he had this guy that was not going to even come close to his pitches, and he puts him on base. So what's he do? He's like, all right, I'm throwing, I can't believe I didn't land that curveball. I'm going to just throw this fastball in. Obviously didn't locate it well, but Alvarez also was looking fastball and just absolutely demolished it. So it's just like, that whole sequence felt so telegraphed to me. It's just like, oh yeah, I hit this guy and now I'm going to try to come back and reestablish with a fastball. And he knew that and he destroyed it. So only 7 whiffs. Like I said, it seems like he threw the pitch that he threw the most was his changeup. He threw that 32% of the time. I think part of that is that I think it was all right-handed batters except for Jordan. So that curveball is less of a weapon against righties. But I think good for first one back. I think it's positive that he got out of this with no issues with the finger. That's good. I can only, so I think there's some good things and some bad things here. It's just like, I wish he would have a little bit more swing and miss here, which he normally does. Maybe he will as he gets going into it. And frankly, trust that curveball a little bit more. I think that's going to be the big thing to watch with Nick Lodolo is that curveball grip is what they say is the thing that is causing that blister. So he noticeably very, only threw that 22% of the time, the least out of any of his pitches. So I would imagine as the season gets, goes on and he gets a little bit more trust in that curveball, that we may see a little bit more swing and miss out of Lodolo. But overall, I think I agree. Positive, but when an offense is playing like that, it's there's not, you give up 1 run, and obviously that was too much. So hopefully he will get better, but a good first start, I think, for Nick Lodolo.
Yeah, I mean, the curveball is obviously the biggest question, and last year he was pretty even in terms of which pitches he was throwing how often, right? The curveball he threw the most often, but he threw it 29% of the time. The changeup, which he threw the least often, he threw 22% of the time. So all 4 of his pitches, he threw somewhere between 22 and 28% of the time. That curveball fallen 21% tonight, somewhat in line with that. He threw his changeup a lot more tonight than he normally does. Last year, his changeup was his least used pitch. He threw that 22% of the time. Tonight, he threw it 32% of the time, all against right-handed hitters, though. And so part of it is potentially matchup related because he uses that curveball a lot more against right-handed hitters. He only threw 5 pitches against left-handed batters tonight. So he didn't really have a chance to.
Because I think it's only Jordan. I think Jordan was the only lefty.
Jordan was the only lefty. Yeah. So, I think in general, as you kind of see how that progresses, that curveball he throws twice as much to right-handers than he does to left-handers. But he still throws it a good amount to left-handers, according to Baseball Savant. So for the first outing, again, they talked about him building up that callus on his fingers. They feel comfortable about where he's at. They're checking him out after every inning. Would you like to see more whiffs? Yeah, probably. Would you like to see more of those curveballs? I think he'll get more comfortable with that. I talked about TJ Antone the other night when he made his first appearance, and about how he called trust more of a dimmer than a light switch, and how you kind of have to build up that trust, right? I would imagine that Nick Lodolo is going through a very similar process right now for himself, trying to build up trust in that finger to stand up to throwing 78 to 100 pitches in a given night and being able to throw that curveball somewhere between 25 and 30 times a game. But I think for the first outing, it was fine. Velocity was there, which is something that I know we were kind of wanting to keep an eye on. Velocity was up across the board tonight. So in general, a good first start from Lodolo. Obviously would like 4 of those pitches back. But the truth of the matter is that the Astros did their job. They made him pay for the mistakes. And that's what happens when you're facing good batters. It won't happen every night, but certainly they took advantage of him on Friday night. Any other thoughts on Lodolo? Obviously he comes out after going hit by pitch, home run, double in the 6th. You mentioned only threw 78 pitches, but I don't know what his pitch count was going to look like in terms of what he was available for tonight anyway.
Yeah, it was probably around that much. So I would expect that, the next time out he would be, probably have a leash to get up to 100 if he's still rolling like he was. So, yeah, I think it's encouraging. Would have liked it to be, frankly, needed it tonight to be incredible. Didn't quite get that, but we're going to need it. Rhett Lauder's probably going on the IL, so Brandon Williamson, Rhett Lauder going onto the IL. And now you're patching together a starting pitching rotation that is already not been good with Chase Petty, who looks pretty good against Chicago, but we know still young and has the potential to blow up. So, yeah, we're going to need him to be in there and just be somebody that takes the ball, and we can count on to do that every 5 days, because boy, injuries are starting to pile up.
The Reds gave some updates on key injuries tonight during the broadcast. We'll break those down in a couple minutes, and we'll talk about this non-existent offense. But first, I want to get some of these super chats out of the way, if you don't mind, Mike. We got, despite it being a terrible game yet again, Nut Cutter Nation, as they always do, comes through. We love you all and appreciate the support that you guys give us night in and night out, regardless of how our favorite team performs. We'll start with Pepper Westwood. I don't know if you noticed or not. It got me laughing a little bit earlier when it came through, but Pepper Westwood, $5 super chat. I'm so mad. I had 2 tickets in my passenger seat for the Reds game tomorrow. Somebody broke in. Now there's 4 tickets. Ugh.
That's the Grogu bobblehead too. The Star Wars bobblehead.
Hey, go take your tickets, get the Grogu bobbleheads, and sell them on eBay. And I'm sure there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there that'll pay a decent chunk for that. Big Red Machine, man. I know Trace shouts you out every time, but $20 super chat. I've never seen anything like this. Feels like 2022 100-game loss season. Nick, Trace, Craig, along with all of us, saw the signs 14 games ago before it got this bad. Heads need to roll. I saw someone tweet it out the other day, not to derail the super chats, but I saw someone tweet out the other day that it feels like Tito will retire after this season and Nick Krall will be gone. Which of those would you say is more likely to happen?
I'd say Tito retiring is probably more likely to happen. I kind of thought that it would probably be the end of this year anyway. I kind of thought that at the beginning of the year, just because, he's getting up there in age. It's getting to a point where it's like, hey, you're able to do something with this team. And I think they were even they gave him another year extension on top of it going into it, just so he wasn't like a lame duck. But yeah, I kind of always thought it was going to be this year anyway. Maybe that was just me, what I was projecting. But I feel like Nick Krall, as much as we are upset with him, I think his job is more safe than we would imagine. He's not Duke Tobin level safe, but he is, I think he still is pretty safe out there. Yes, he has made some pretty monumental screw ups, your Candelarios and such. But I think that ownership will look at, hey, this is what he was given, and he was able to bring in JJ Bleday. He was able to bring in Nathaniel Lowe. These are some people that he's found out the scrap heap. While I don't know. I hate being like, hey, so-and-so needs to be fired. I'm not a big fan of calling for people's jobs, especially this early in the season still. But I guess my answer is I think Tito is more likely to be gone than Nick Krall, because I think Nick Krall has a lot more job stability than I think a lot of the fans would like at this point.
I don't know that Duke Tobin and Nick Krall are that different in terms of their job security. Obviously, Tobin being in quote unquote in the family maybe gives him a slight edge, but I don't know what at this point could happen for Nick Krall to actually lose his job. I mean, he's been promoted and promoted and promoted. I don't know. And then the other question, and I brought this up with Trace the other night about, I think it was about Trace the other night about how, if you fire someone, how quickly would they be scooped up by somebody else?
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I struggle with Nick Krall. I don't know that he would be scooped up super quickly, but I don't think he'd be out of a job that long.
Right.
I think he's viewed as pretty smart and pretty analytical. And I think even if not a GM role, I think he'd be pretty quickly scooped up by another team who sees him as a fit in their philosophy. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I guess to say something about one more thing about Tito, this is why you bring in a Hall of Fame manager, right? It's for the 8-game losing streak. It's like, this is where you need the leadership of somebody like a Terry Francona to keep the guys from being down in the dumps. And as each one of these games keep going on, like today was just a wet fart. Like, it was such a bad game on all accounts. And it's just like, at what point are you going to start flexing the Hall of Fame manager muscle here, Tito? It's like, I know the players have to still go out and make the plays, but it's just like, you're brought in here to help keep these young guys from spiraling out of control when things are going bad. And that is not happening right now. They are spiraling. And it's just like, we're going to need something out of Tito soon to be able to hopefully, jolt something loose with these guys, because man, if they keep playing like this is just a team that's going to be playing disappointed and poor baseball for the rest of the year. And that's just going to be awful to watch for all of us. So it's just like, earn your money now, Tito, because this is where we need it. This is the intangibles that everyone talks about. This is where you go earn it. So please do that, Tito. That's my thought on that.
I don't think I expected anything different despite the 7-game losing streak, but the pessimist in me still has to ask the question. They showed on the post-game show highlights from Oz Perlman in the locker room with Reds players doing a show before tonight's game, call it a show, whatever, doing some tricks before the game tonight. Obviously, I would imagine that was several hours ago. It's not like he went in there, at 5:30 and started doing his tricks and stuff. But on one hand, it's good. Get your mind off of the losing streak. On the other hand, hey, you guys have lost 7 straight games at that point. Maybe we should focus on getting some batting practice in. Maybe we should focus on getting some infield work in after we lost at least 2 games in Chicago due to defensive blunders. Hey, maybe we should be focused on trying to beat the Houston Astros and not focused on Oz Perlman. I love Oz. I think he's super entertaining, but I don't know. Part of me just wonders, right? And then my other question for you, Mike, and maybe we'll do a standalone video on this at some point too, but let's say Tito retires. Is Mike Napoli your next manager?
Interesting. I don't know. I would imagine that they probably will consider that. Just because they there's been rave reviews of it, of him and his coaching, but I would imagine it would probably, it's not nearly as a shoe in as say some of these other bench coaches that are in waiting. But maybe, I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about that. It'd be interesting because they basically pinpointed Tito as like, yes, this is the guy we want to go get for the last time. And I wonder if they would then try to swing more towards a manager like David Bell or a manager more old school like Terry Francona. I'm not sure. It's I don't know. It's hard to tell with all this type of thing. I think that they've tried one side of the spectrum, the super analytical, emotionless David Bell, and the old school, hard ass head coach or just the manager, old school guy Tito. So I don't know. Maybe they'll land somewhere in the middle. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I have that great of a. I don't have a great answer. Maybe
I don't expect you to.
Maybe you scoop up somebody like an Alex Cora or like somebody who gets fired, and like if Detroit has a bad season, it doesn't make the playoffs, and they fire AJ Hinch, I would be like, well, maybe there's a spot for you right there as well. So I don't know. It's awful early to start talking about next year's manager. But a 10-0 loss and an 8-game losing streak will get you going there. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Amazing what'll come up in the midst of a post-game show. All right. Ian Sayers says, I'm 28 and haven't seen a series win in the playoffs. Every year, this team seems to lack mental toughness. Consistency is not in our vocabulary. Certainly seems that way so far this year. Schmick Schmack. Team looks like they quit. Tito lost the team. I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. It's funny because we just spent however long talking about, is this team good, or are they more like the 8-loss team or the 20-11 team? I don't know. I don't know that they quit per se, but man, they're definitely in their own heads. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Bunch of guys pressing. That's for sure.
100%, including Sal Stewart. If anything, fire Valleca just to fire somebody and send a message. Valleca's Tito's guy. I don't know. We've had people in our chat calling for Derek Johnson's job. We've had people calling for Chris Valleca's job. I think Derek Johnson might actually be the one that I brought up. How quickly would they get scooped up by someone else? Immediately.
Yeah.
Chris Valleca, though?
Yeah. Has the pitching been not as good this year? Yes, but the pitching staff under Derek Johnson has transformed under Derek Johnson. All of a sudden we can develop people like Connor Phillips and Chase Petty and draft and get people like Burns and Louder up to the majors. I don't know. I feel like he is, yes, they've struggled this year, but that's not somebody that I like. His overall body of work has been very, very good for the Reds, especially in what it used to be before he showed up. So to me, he's the most safe, at least in my opinion. He's the guy that should be the most safe because what he's done for the Reds has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. I mean, Rhett Lauder had one bad outing this year. Chase Burns has been nails his entire, I know it's 2 years, but his entire career. You're without Hunter Green. You're without Nick Lodolo. Your bullpen for a long time was the best bullpen in baseball. Now, obviously, they've fallen apart of late, but everything's fallen apart of late. So I don't know. I don't think Derek Johnson's the answer. Chris Valleca, on the other hand, I'm not sure I would miss him.
Yeah, I guess to send a message is, I guess that's one thing to do. I just don't know how. Like, I just don't think that bringing somebody else in is going to magically change this with the Reds. As I just don't think batting or hitting coaches have that much of an effect on people, especially mid-year. Maybe we're a new guy. We're going into the offseason. We're changing our approach. I could see maybe that, but just like you bring in somebody new in May, I just don't see it having that huge of an effect.
All right, screw it. I was going to bring this up during Reds MILB, but let's bring it up now. Reports earlier today that Joey Votto is working down in Daytona with Tyson Lewis, amongst others. Tyson Lewis having a bit of a breakout season this year for Daytona. which is crazy to say because he's got an OPS of 691.
Well, that was the thing. It was
but-
that he was doing poorly, and then Joey Votto started working with him, and he started to improve. I think that was
Correct.
part of the story, right?
Yeah. So he's already tied into the organization. He may or may not be working with young players on their hitting. We may or may not be in the need for a hitting coach in the near future. But he's also signed on to be a television analyst, which I don't know what's happening with that. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I haven't heard him.
We're like a month and a half into the season. Where's Joey Votto on your list for hitting coach candidates?
So there's two different things here. There's what I would like and what I think is going to happen, because I think Joey Votto's actually been asked a few times if he would think about coaching, and his answer has always been like, no. I don't want to, I know the time and the effort that goes into being a hitting coach or a coach of some sort, and I don't want to give that at the moment. I think he's satisfied with living close to Daytona and, mentoring a young Reds player. I don't think that he would want to bring on this full job of, hey, now I'm the hitting coach and I'm responsible for, the 26 men that are here to, I guess it's less than that, hitters, but you get what I mean. So do I think he would be a good hitting coach? Yes, because I think Joey Votto was an excellent hitter who was not only meticulous enough to understand, what pitchers were doing, but how to evolve. This is a guy that played for so long and evolved as a hitter. Like, he was a different player from when he started to when he was getting it done in his 38 and 39-year-old season. So it's just like, that's the type of player that I want teaching the young players of the Reds. So sure. Yeah. I think I would love to have him as a hitting coach. Now, back in reality, I don't think he would take that. I think he's probably a couple years away from being willing to put that time and commitment in there. But I think I think it would be a good option if we could get it. I just I feel less certain about that.
Yeah, be interesting to see if he'd be interested. I don't know if he would be or not.
I'd be interested if they go straight to major league hitting coach. I guess he's got enough pedigree that probably he could do it. But a lot of times you see these guys, they're gotta at least do it in the minors a little bit. And I don't know if maybe they would make Joey Votto do that or not. So who knows?
At the same time, Barry Larkin's been working with guys like Ellie De La Cruz every spring training and everything like that without being in an official role. So who's to say that he's even interested in doing something like that? But something we'll monitor for sure, and how Tyson Lewis progresses over the course of the rest of the season. All right. Tim Barnes has been a member for 7 months, wants to know, have we arrived at, quote, the young core isn't good minus Ellie? They've basically all underperformed. Your thoughts on the young core?
Yeah, it's hard to, at least this year they have underperformed. I think we've seen spurts of a few of them performing in different spots, but it's hard to say that young core of what McLean, Benson, Marte, even Steer, I guess you could call him part of that young core. It's just been not very good. So it's I wonder. I was wondering, like, it looks so nice in 2023 and just can't get back to it. I don't think that they are necessarily as bad as with the way they are playing now. Like, I think McLean will come along. I don't think he necessarily ever even needs to be good enough to be your two hitter, but I think he is. I think he will get something here. It's unfortunate because it's like, if this core is really just not good, then this rebuild feels like it peaked with a single playoff appearance. You know what I mean?
That's part of the toughest thing is if you're gonna truly value prospects, you're gonna hold on to them and not trade them away, and you're gonna trade your players for them, you've got to hit.
Yeah.
And realistically, the Reds have not hit on a homegrown talent outside of Ellie De La Cruz in how long?
Maybe Sal Stewart. Like,
but we don't know.
Right.
I mean, you could be going down the same path you went down with Matt McLean, where he had one good 89 game stretch, and outside of that, he's been bad. maybe Sal Stewart had a good 10-game stretch, and then outside of that, he's been bad. I don't know.
I hope not, but yeah, it's tough.
When was
It's
the
tough to see.
last homegrown like actually we don't have to go all the way back to like Jay Bruce, do we?
I mean, Votto counts, right? I guess Bruce is
since then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know which one.
Yeah. And then there's Ellie. Yeah. A hitter. They've done some pitch. Hunter Green, obviously. So is one, but
yeah.
But
pitching.
Yeah.
But hey, Derek Johnson should be fired, right?
Yeah.
All right. GM, managers, players, someone has to go, says the Frago. Maybe. Guess we'll find out. Ian Sayers is back. Please tell Trace to have a 10-minute rant ready as therapy for all of us. We'll be okay when we are healthy, but we need to stay 500 until then. Well, Trace will be back on Sunday night, and I promise you, if this losing streak reaches 10 games on Sunday, you're in for an epic rant.
Yeah.
Schmick Schmack, if this is a 500 team and they haven't quit, they wouldn't be getting blown out in this many games. Or maybe they're just not very good. Who knows?
I think the blown out in games is I don't know. I feel less worried about that because it's just like it's still a loss. And part of that strings from not having very good like cleanup guys. You know, like the guys they've been sending out there basically in the Brent Suter role have not been able to keep it close. And you know, your Acuna and what was his name? The guy they just sent down for Lodolo. I can't remember his name. Franco, right? They just haven't been very good. So yes, getting blown out sucks, but you know, Trevino's getting in a lot of these games too. And
let's not forget this game was 2-0 in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
And even still 4-0 after 7. And then it fell apart. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't love it.
Yeah,
I don't love it. I just I'm less worried about some of these blowout losses because it feels like it's. I mean, today you can actually probably
5-run ninth really inflates it.
Yeah, but that 5-run ninth is off of your guy who you thought was going to be a closer too, right? 4 runs, no outs. So those are it's like those type of things are when I start to get worried about it. But either way, it's I don't know. Getting blown out to me is less. I don't know. I don't have as much of a issue with that. It's still just a loss.
Yeah. All right. One more, I believe, from the Big Red Machine chiming back in. Please check the innings when Friedel did not lead off and Blade led off. Scoring opportunities happened. I don't have like historical numbers in front of me, but I will say tonight, JJ Blade led off twice. TJ Friedel led off the inning just once in the first. JJ Blade led off in the 4th. He walked, and then we loaded the bases and didn't score. And then in the 6th, he popped out in foul ground to the third baseman, and then we went 1-2-3. So maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Mike's better with stats like that than I am. But
yeah, here we go. Leading off the inning. JJ Blade is 3 for 7 with a home run, a double, and a strikeout. That's a 429 batting average. Obviously small sample size, but 142 OPS plus. And that doesn't include tonight's game. But, that's small sample size, 3 for 7. But
3 for 8 after tonight then.
Yeah. Well, but we will probably see maybe that's something that we should keep an eye on. I don't know. Everyone knows how we feel about TJ Friedel.
Yeah. We don't have to get into TJ Friedel again.
People that hit like him get DFA'd by other teams, and he's leading off for us. So
Alec Thomas. All right.
Yeah.
988. We want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health, whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. I feel like we've hit on this a lot tonight already, so we don't have to spend a ton on it, but just this could be read two ways. There was no offense, and then no offense, but
I
you
did
can take it whichever way you want to go, Mike.
I did want to bring something up because something did stick out to me, especially it was the bases loaded with 1 out. Spencer Steer misses a middle fastball and pops the ball up to right. And I think in our group chat, Greg mentioned that ball should have been off the scoreboard. And it made me think, it's like, hey, it feels like the Reds maybe are like haven't been very good. I feel like there's been a lot of middle fastballs that they haven't been able to hit. And so I did some digging into StatCast, and I looked up for the 2026 year how many pitches were thrown in that zone 5. So if in StatCast they divide it up into 9 quadrants, and zone 5 is the very middle. And the Reds have the most pitches thrown to batters that are in the middle zone, the most. And they have the most 435 pitches. And Craig, I'd like you to guess what their batting average is on pitches that are middle.
I don't think you sent us that. I can't even like fake a try here. I don't know, like
this is a ball right down the middle.
167.
No, it's not that bad. It's not
okay,
that bad.
Thank
It's
God.
257.
All right.
But that is last 30th
Still not good
in batting average. And that is 20 points lower than the second to last team, the Seattle Mariners. So get this. The Reds are seeing the most pitches right down the middle this year and have the worst batting average on the pitches that are being seen there. That tells me two things. One, obviously they're not hitting it, right? They're having trouble hitting it. And two, pitchers don't even need to worry about, they're just like throwing the ball into the zone. Like they just know the Reds aren't able to do damage on pitches in the zone. So it's just like you start seeing rising walk rates when you have teams that are crushing the ball in the zone, right? So pitchers get afraid of throwing it in the zone. The Reds are just demolished, are getting, are not hitting at all these pitches down the middle. And so because of that, pitchers are just throwing it in the zone because they know the Reds aren't going to do much with it. And I knew it was bad. I didn't think it was this bad. But yeah, it is tough to see that they are getting the most pitches in there and have the worst batting average. Just putrid from the offense. Putrid. It's you got to make the mistakes hurt. That's what it was. It's like Lodolo pitched well today, but the Astros capitalized on his mistakes and they scored 4 runs off of him. The Reds don't have a good enough offense to be able to hit great pitches. They have to capitalize on mistakes, and they're just not doing that. Balls right down the middle, they are not hitting. And it's just like add that to the tally of things that are going wrong for this offense.
It's really interesting because I have thoughts, but then I look at data and I don't necessarily know that they back it up as much as I think that they would. So a couple of things that stand out to me when we talk about this, specifically the middle pitches. I think about guys like Ellie, and I don't like to pick on Ellie on a night like tonight where he had 3 balls hit 105 miles an hour the opposite way, and he was on base twice. But also he struck out looking at a ball that was well within the zone. And he consistently strikes out looking on balls, especially on the inside part of the plate, because I think at least he's guessing a lot and he's expecting that ball to run in on him and be out of the zone by the time it gets to him versus watching 4-seam fastballs that work their way back into the zone on him. And then I think about guys like Sal Stewart who feel like they're pressing and they're chasing the ball out of the zone. And then I go on Savant, and these are the things that like don't compute with me. The Reds on the season have the 3rd lowest chase rate of any team in baseball. They're only chasing 26% of the time, which sounds like more than you'd like them to chase. But the truth of the matter is that this includes everything from a ball that's 1/10 of an inch off the zone out to multiple inches off the zone. So the chase rate is 26.3%. They're making contact with those pitches. 5th lowest in MLB, 53% of the time. So they're swinging 26% of the time on balls out of the zone, and they're making contact on 53% of those swings. Zone swing, though, they are 5th lowest in zone swing. They're only swinging at balls in the zone 63.5% of the time, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
This is what I'm telling you.
And
Yeah.
when you combine that with a 5th lowest zone contact rate at 82%, that's not a good combination. So I don't know what it, if it's, but going back to the Valleca conversation, like that feels a lot like approach to me, whether it's they're getting overly analytical and trying to guess on pitches, whether they just want to work the count more and get people to work their pitch counts up. What it is, I don't know, but these numbers like are just jumbling my brain. Can you help me make anything of it?
Yeah, I think you're right when it comes to approach there. I think that their approach is like, hey, we want to work the count. We want to try to be selective on the pitches that we hit and things like that. The problem is, and that's why you don't see a whole bunch of chase. And what's crazy is that includes people like Rhys Hines, Noelvi Marte,
Right.
people that only chase. So the fact that they're not chasing, I guess, is good. But the problem is if you don't do damage in the zone, they don't have to throw you balls. Like they just are going to be like, all right, here's my stuff. I'm throwing it in the zone. Good luck hitting it. And more often than not, they're not hitting it. So I think like that approach only works if you do damage in the zone, right? It's just like, I'm going to, try to spit on these good pitches that are, out of the zone and things like that. It's like, in theory, that's good, but that only is helpful if you're actually hitting the balls that are good to hit. And they're not doing that, right? Like we've just spelled out a couple different examples of why they're not doing well at that. So until they start hitting the ball well in, on pitches in the zone, they're not going to be like, they're going to have less walks because they're just going to throw less in the zone. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things where they need to get better at doing that pitches. When you talk about Ellie is just sitting. I think part of it is he's just sitting breaking balls so much, and they're able to freeze him with 2 strikes because he like doesn't want to swing through a ball in the dirt, right? So he's like trying to sit, and then he sees one, and he's like, okay, that's not a breaking ball. I'm taking it, and then we get that strikeout looking. I think he is either leads the league or is at the top of the league in strikeout lookings. Like I said, I don't want to pile on Ellie today. Ellie was far from the problem today and this season, frankly. But yeah, I think there is a issue of if you're going to have this identity or this approach, team-wide approach to this, then you need to do better at pitches that are in the zone to hit, and they're not doing it.
We talk about lengthening the lineup a lot, right? And obviously the Reds didn't have a lot of opportunities tonight, but they did have one big opportunity in the 4th. They had bases loaded, and this comes after JJ Bleday leads off the inning with a walk. Ellie De La Cruz hits a 105-mile-an-hour liner to left field that their left fielder just happened to be positioned correctly for and is able to make the shoestring grab. And then they get 2 bloop hits from Sal Stewart and Nathaniel Lowe that just kind of bloop in. Sal's was over second base, Nathaniel Lowe's was over third base, but they find a way to get on base. And so they have bases loaded with 1 out. And again, normally you'd have Gino coming up in that situation, or ideally you'd have somebody else. Like you get Spencer Steer to come up. He flies out to shallow right, doesn't even score a run. And then Tyler Stevenson has one of the most uncompetitive at-bats that you'll see, striking out on 3 pitches.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. That was the pitch that Spencer Steer absolutely should have hit off the scoreboard. And instead he pops it up and doesn't even get a run in. And so the limited opportunities you have, you guys have to take advantage of it. And if you're not going to take advantage of it, you're going to have a whole lot more days like you had tonight, scoring 0 runs, and you're going to have, like the Astros did tonight, taking advantage of missed pitches and scoring 10 runs. That, to me, like the missed opportunities has been a storyline for this entire 8-game losing streak. And then just this lineup, top to bottom, is not good enough. And you look in the minor leagues, Mike, it's not even like they have guys in the minors who are demolishing the ball that are earning a spot back on the league, because I don't know. We're not going to see Noelvi Marte or Rhys Hines until an injury happens, or at least the All-Star break, like at least the second half of the season. They're not calling them back up, regardless of how well they hit. And Noelvi Marte's hit really well down at AAA. The fact of the matter is that this team has to just figure it out, because there's no help coming. And the sad part about it, to what was one of the super chats earlier, I don't even know that they have the pieces to go out and add anything major if they wanted to make a trade. So you're stuck again trying to find guys that you can quote unquote save maybe. And, you know, like we kind of teased at it. Alec Thomas was DFA'd today. Like, him and Friedel have nearly identical numbers offensively, but at least Alec Thomas can play defense. But Noelvi Marte, despite the fact that he's hitting .392 with an OPS of 1066 right now, we're not seeing him for a long, long time unless there's an injury.
Yeah, I'm especially with the way Blade has been, you know, one of these few bright spots. I think the outfield is probably not. You're right. I think it's pretty settled in where it's at. You just need people to start doing better, and whether it's pressing. I think it started as this is a theory that I don't necessarily have backed up by data at this one, but it started out the year as they faced some really good pitching, right? And I think they genuinely did face some really good pitching, and they were off to a slow start. And then after being off to a slow start, it then leads to a bunch of people pressing, right? You thought, oh, maybe this hit will get them off the schneid. Maybe this hit will get them out of here and stuff like that. But it's just like, it's one of those things where now when everyone's pressing, you get games like this where it was just like 5 hits against a bad pitcher, you know, 3 hits against a bad pitcher. And there needs to and so I think that's kind of been the arc of the way that the Reds offense has been. It's unfortunate that I think they started to turn a little bit of a corner offensively, and that was when they're you know, they were getting some wins in there, but then they're starting pitching with the hell. And it's just like they score 7 runs, but they gave up 17, you know? So it's we saw that. It feels like we didn't even get to take advantage of maybe a little bit of a hot streak of the offense because the pitching was so bad. So it's one of those things that I think they're pressing. I don't think they're this bad, but man, we need to, you know, I think we're almost out of buttons to press. You know, we've called up people, we move people around, we're platooning certain people at certain points. It's just like, now it's just like, hey, you guys gotta buckle up and start doing better here. So I don't know. We'll see.
I made a mistake, Mike. I got my brain going, and now I'm wondering if Noelvi Marte continues to hit like he's hitting a AAA, what kind of return he might get for somebody who needs an outfielder at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Despite how he's performed at the major league level.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that about Hines too. You know, he tears up AAA. Yep. Right. Maybe.
All right. Let's talk about the injury updates. We got 2 of them during the broadcast, and maybe I'm forgetting another one. I thought there were 3, but I only heard 2 during the broadcast. Eugenio Suarez had an MRI today on his oblique. He's been fielding ground balls. He took, I think, 50 swings yesterday is what they said. But his MRI came back and he's only at 50% healed. So they're going to kind of slow down his rehab a little bit, stop specifically with the batting practice. He was still taking ground balls, but specifically backing off of the swinging. So it sounds like he's still probably several weeks away, if we're being honest. And then Rhett Lauder with an interesting update as well. The clicking was in his AC joint in his shoulder. No structural damage, which is the good news. But at the same time, that doesn't give you any answers. And if you're battling through something for an extended period of time and you do an MRI and you don't get any answers, it's not really ideal, to be honest. I'd rather almost know what the issue is and get it fixed than him continue to battle and underperform. He's going to throw a side session on Sunday, and they talked about how it's going to be a pretty intensive side session because they really want to know what's going on. Can they get that shoulder to start clicking again? Can they get it, in a similar state so they can try and figure out exactly what is going on? And then after that side session on Sunday is when they'll finally make a determination on what the next steps are for him, whether that is an IL stint, whether that is additional treatment, whether that is something else. But a mixed bag of results, I guess, at this point with the injury news. Gino going to be out for several weeks longer, it sounds like. Miss him. Even if he was struggling, he still strikes a little bit of fear into pitchers and makes you think before pitching around Nathaniel Lowe or Sal Stewart. And then Rhett Lauder, again, struggled in his last outing. No answers. Not ideal either.
Yeah, it's, the record that they've got since Gino's been out. I know Gino wasn't tearing the cover off the ball, but it sure seems like they miss him, whether it's just that a little bit extra length and fear of pop, or whatever it is. It's just with him, like, since he's been down, I frankly thought when he went down, I was like, well, I think the Reds are probably in a good spot to weather this pretty well, because I think Nathaniel Lowe came in and has been pretty good. It's like you kind of got a little bit of flexibility. You lose some defense by moving Sal around to third, basically, instead of, when they give Hayes a day off and things like that. But it's just like, I think they've got the pieces to weather it. But just like, I don't know. Is it a coincidence that they've fallen off a cliff after he's, been out? Like, I don't know. I guess he was out a little bit before May, but it's just like,
well, so his last, I just looked it up. His last game was against Detroit on the 24th.
Yeah.
So they're 3 and math is mathing in my head right now. They're 3-14 since then, or something like that.
Jeez. At what point? Yeah.
1, 2, 3 wins for sure.
Plus
1,
8.
2, 10 losses. They're 3-10.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you wonder. It's just like whether it's. I mean, he's still in the clubhouse, right? But it's just like having a guy there with that thump that, frankly, I'm trying to look up now. What's his zone contact rate? Because like that's his thing, right? You miss in the zone, Suarez kills it, right? He absolutely makes you miss on mistakes. So I don't know. It's hard to think that somebody like that is that crucial to the team, but boy, where they have gone since his injury has been bad. It's been tough, very tough.
Yeah, it has indeed been tough. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Lauder on Sunday. We'll see what happens with Gino. But it sounds like we won't see him at this point. I guess I'd be surprised if we saw him before June. But man, that's a big loss, and certainly need him back. And we're paying a lot of money for him. And
we didn't even really mention the bullpen either. And I know we've already gone an hour 19 on just a black game, but I feel like very, very worried about this bullpen. It's like, I know Pagan wasn't great, but like the last 3 outings for Santillan have been bad. 2 of the last 3 outings for Phillips have been horrendous. Like I can't even, just like absolutely demolished and shelled. Ashcraft blew a save. Like at what point, like who do you rely on back there? Those are your guys. I guess there's Brock Burke. Brock Burke, got the loss in the 77% for Gino. That makes sense. But it's just like, I worry about this bullpen. I know it didn't end up actually mattering, but like, this is another underlying thing that is just like, I don't know who we trust late in games in a close game, because everyone is struggling when it comes to that. I guess maybe you get Caleb Ferguson back soon. I don't know how much that necessarily helps, but boy, it's hard to feel good about the bullpen either, even if we had made it close.
Yeah, rough day. Obviously, Pierce Johnson came back. He performed okay today. He came in with a man on, 2 runs in the 6th, got 3 back-to-back outs, and then worked a perfect 7th as well. So, he performed okay. Antone gave up the double that came around to score, but ground ball, fly out or pop out. And then Santillan, man, I don't know where you go on Tony Santillan right now, because
that velo is still down. And they kept
down.
saying it's like, hey, he's still ramping up. But, man, the velo's down.
How long do you ramp up for?
Right. I don't know, man. I did notice he's changed his arm angle a little bit. And I think that was probably benefiting him at the beginning of the year. Just kind of it was coming from a different spot. But, boy, people are figuring that out now. I think it's like, blew 2 saves and had 4 earned runs with no outs, giving up home runs to Zach Cole and Christian Vasquez. That's like giving up a home run to Blake Dunn and Jose Trevino is what that is. Their bench bat and their backup catcher. So I don't know. It's hard. I don't know who you trust.
Well, there's an argument to be made sometimes that, hey, velocity is not the end all be all. And maybe you're changing one pitch up in order to better supplement a different pitch. And, for some people, maybe they want to throw their change up a little bit harder. Maybe they want to throw their four seam a little softer. There's different philosophies behind it. But literally all 3 of Santillan's pitches are down about 2 miles an hour year over year. Just for comparison's sake, his changeup was 86.5 last year. He doesn't throw it a lot. His slider was 86.5 last year. Hasn't thrown it a lot this year, but the 2 that he threw was only 84.5. His slurve last year was 86.1. He throws that a decent amount. This year it's 84.0. And his four-seamer, which obviously got to be a pitch that you can go to, he throws it 60+% of the time. 96.3 miles an hour last year, down to 94 this year. That's a pitch that has to be better. It just has to be. And we talk about it a lot with the starting rotation in terms of like being hittable and just inducing weak contact, because some of these starting pitchers that we have, that's more so what their bread and butter is. But Santillan doesn't have the stuff to be able to induce soft contact. Throwing a 94 mile an hour fastball is not going to induce soft contact in this league. And so not unless you have 2 or 3 other pitches to keep him off balance. And he's only throwing right now, at least he's only throwing one other pitch this year, and it's his slurve. So if you're a batter and you're either going fastball or you're going slurve and you're looking fastball 60% of the time, you better believe you're not touching that slurve. You're leaving that where it is.
Yep. It's just hasn't been getting it done. I think the reason why slurve went up is just like, I think he throws 2 pitches. It just gets classified. It was classified more as a slider last year, and now it's classified more as a slurve just based on its shape difference, like I mentioned. So I don't know. It's 2 pitches, I think, that he throws. He's got a 1 or a 2. And so, boy, it's just not good enough. And it's tough because you don't know what the other options are there. And I would imagine you're going to have to see it, right? This team is built to, pitching and defense, right? It's not built to have stellar offense. So we're going to need that bullpen to show up at some point. I don't know. It's weird to think that Pagan was potentially holding this thing together when he was struggling, but just like what it did was it just like kept people in the roles that I think that they could be good at. You could let, for the most part, I know Phillips has struggled recently, but he could be that guy in the 7th or the 6th as the fireman to get out of stuff, and Graham in the 7th and Santillan in the 8th. And then, we hold our breath for Pagan in the 9th. But now that he's gone, we're trying to shuffle up roles, and it's clearly not something that people are comfortable with, that are struggling with, that are, maybe being asked too much of. So it's a tough situation that we didn't really have to deal with today, because it didn't matter. We scored 0 runs, but we got to clean that up quick. We remember when we had the best bullpen ERA in baseball. Remember that? Yeah. I think we have like the 22nd best now. Like it's been so quickly has this bullpen seemingly fallen apart. It's not good.
Was it interesting? Maybe the Reds are starting to feel somewhat similar to us about Tony Santillan. I find it a little bit interesting that Santillan, who pitched on the 5th, did not pitch on the 4th, wasn't called on at all in that extra innings game against the Cubs that ultimately Brock Burke blew by walking 3 guys in the 10th inning. And then they go to him tonight in the 9th inning in a 6-run ball game or a 5-run ball game.
Yeah, maybe they changed his role.
Maybe they're changing their philosophy on him too. Do they not believe in him either?
I don't know. Maybe it was, hey, get some work in a low stress situation, see if you can figure it out, and it made it even worse. So, yeah, I don't know. I genuinely think it's a day to day. I think that with Pagan gone, all of the roles have all just been thrown out the window. It's going to be more matchup and how are guys feeling, I think, is how it's going to be which theoretically, the numbers guys would be like, that's how I would prefer it. Right. But not working so far. That's for sure.
All right. Well, let's talk about Reds MILB because there's a couple of guys that got some run in Louisville tonight that may be either on their way back to this bullpen or at least a depth option down the road. We'll start with those Louisville bats for Reds MILB. Caleb Ferguson, working in his rehab stint, made an appearance tonight. It was his 4th appearance on the season. He's now gone 4 innings, and tonight he goes 1 inning of no hit, no run work, did walk 1, didn't strike out any, picked up the hold. Zach Maxwell picks up the save. He goes 2 innings of perfect baseball, strikes out 3 along the way. We'll be monitoring Caleb Ferguson, of course, as he continues to make his comeback. And then Zach Maxwell is always a depth piece option as well. Louisville won that game 9-6 over Nashville. Francisco Urbaez 2 for 4 with a double in this one. Will Banfield 1 for 4 with a home run in the 3rd inning. And then the story of the night for the bats, Edwin Arroyo 3 for 5 with 2 home runs. It is his 7th and am I reading this right? 7th and 8th home run on the year for Arroyo. No, 6th and 7th home run on the year for Arroyo. 2 home runs on the night for him. He's now hitting .331 with a .972 OPS. Both of them solo shots for the bats. Hector Rodriguez was 2 for 5. Noelvi Marte 3 for 5. He's now hitting .405 with a 1073 OPS. Reese Hines was 0 for 4 tonight, but did walk. He's hitting .328 with an 1118. Michael Tolia, who I know you're high on, 1 for 3. Michael Chavis 1 for 3 as well in that one. Louisville winners 9-6. Chattanooga picks up another win. They're now 21-10. Sounds a little bit like the major league team. I certainly hope they don't lose 8 straight though. The Lookouts in this one get 2 runs in the 9th to take that lead and to win the game. Austin Hendrick was 1 for 4 with a double. Shane Sasaki, who has kind of come out of nowhere, 1 for 3 with a triple tonight. And then we talked about it in the deep drive of the game. Cam Collier, 2 for 5 with a home run. Carlos Jorge was also 1 for 5. Leo Balcazar, 1 for 4. Jay Allen, the second, was 2 for 5. Xavier Warren, 1 for 4. And Ruben Ibarra, 1 for 3 in this one as well. Chattanooga wins 4-2. Jose Acuna pitched for the Lookouts, goes 6 1/3, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, struck out 12, Mike. 12. And then Hunter Parks, 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, picks up the save for the Lookouts. The Dayton Dragons, they pick up a win 8-0 over West Michigan. They've now won 3 straight. Shout out to the Dayton Dragons. Down there in Dayton, Nestor Laurent went 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. I don't know. He might be a guy that you keep an eye on and might make his way up to Double-A before you know it. He's looking awfully good this year. 2.05 ERA in 5 starts, 30 2/3 innings pitched. Not too bad out of Nestor Laurent. Offensively, Alfredo Duno was 2 for 4 with a double. Ariel Almonte, he hit a home run tonight. And then Carlos Sanchez homered as well. He actually had 2 home runs. Carlos Sanchez 3 for 5 with 2 home runs. Yerlin Confidant 2 for 5. Alfredo Alcantara 1 for 5. Victor Acosta 1 for 5 in a 8-0 Dayton Dragons win. Daytona was rained out tonight, so they didn't play, and the ACL Reds had the day off. That is your Reds MILB update. Your thoughts on a couple of those bullpen arms, Mike?
That was good. I guess having the thing with Maxwell is it's just like, yeah, we've seen when he's good, but it's just like it's the same old issue with a lot of these guys. You got to be able to throw strikes. Same issue with Connor Phillips, Luis May, apparently Brock Burke. All of that is, I don't know. Hopefully we'll be able to rein some of that in. One thing, though, that you did mention that I wanted to call attention to, Alfredo Duno, 2 for 3. He, in the month of May, he actually had a pretty cold start in April. I think it also might have lined up with the cold weather. In May, he is batting .421 with 3 doubles, 4 walks, and 11 total bases. So beginning to heat up in May, unlike the Reds, which is good because starting to get a little worried about a guy batting .213, but he's already raised all the way up to .255 in May. That's how hot he's been. So,
well, his counterpart just recently got promoted to Chattanooga, Ryan McChrystal, who had caught a couple games, but he's been playing all over the diamond. He plays outfield, he plays catcher, he plays first and third as well. So good to see. Good to see
our young guy is starting to take it in stride there.
Absolutely, he's. I don't follow prospects super close, admittedly. Obviously, doing the show, I followed a little bit closer than I used to, but he seems to be the one guy that consensusly actually is a major league prospect. But he might be one of, if not the only guys in this entire farm system that is a consensus major league guy.
Maybe Cam Collier, probably the other guy.
I think a lot of people are down on Cam after the last year and a half now, but
yeah.
Edwin Arroyo is starting to show some things that maybe starting to catch some attention. But
there you go. Well, we've gone on long enough. We can save is Edwin Arroyo a guy going to come up here and save the season? I'm sure Nick has. Nick has some thoughts on it. But good to see him showing some power. But the jump between AAA and the majors is a lot.
It is. All right, let's take a look at tomorrow's matchup. That's not tomorrow's matchup. That's all right. I'll tell you about tomorrow's matchup. Game 2 of 3 with the Astros scheduled for Saturday afternoon. We'll see Chase Burns return to the mound after his brilliant outing in Pittsburgh. He'll go up against the pitcher that has served as the Astros ace for the last month, right-hander Spencer Arrighetti. Chase Burns is 3-1 with a 2.20 ERA on the year. He's coming off a stellar outing in Pittsburgh, where he allowed just 3 hits over 7 scoreless innings, walking just 1 while striking out 7. Burns has put together outings of 2 runs or less in 4 straight starts and 6 of his 7 on the season. Going back to last year, he's allowed more than 2 runs just once since July 28th. During that time, he has a 2.05 ERA. Burns has never faced the Astros or any of their active hitters. On the other side, Spencer Arrighetti didn't make the big league roster out of spring training this year, but he dominated in 3 AAA starts, allowing just 2 earned runs in 14 1/3 innings. He was recalled to the major league roster when Tatsuya Imai went on the IL and has won every start he's made so far. He's sitting at 4-0 with a 1.96 ERA. Last start against Boston, he went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 run, 5 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Walks have really been the issue for Arrighetti, not only this year, but throughout his career. On his career, he's walked 4.4 batters per 9. So far this year, that number is all the way up to 5.5. So if the Reds can be patient, which we talked about earlier, Mike, maybe they can get to Arrighetti again. Missed a lot of 2025 due to a freak thumb injury that he sustained during batting practice, knocked him out for nearly 4 months. The Reds actually gave Spencer Arrighetti his worst start of his career all the way back in 2024. It was his lone appearance against the Reds. Ellie De La Cruz singled and doubled, TJ Friedel doubled, and Jonathan India homered. In that outing that lasted just 11 batters, Arrighetti went 2/3 of an innings, allowed 9 runs on 5 hits, giving up 3 walks. Other active Reds hitters against Arrighetti, JJ Bleday, 6 for 10 with 3 doubles. Nathaniel Lowe is 0 for 3 in his career. That game, first pitch, 4:10 Eastern. It'll be on Reds TV and on FS1. And as always, Chatterbox Reds will be live in the 9th inning. Mike, any final thoughts or thoughts looking ahead to tomorrow?
Bleday, seen him a lot in that AL West. So he's probably going to be in the lineup tomorrow. Arrighetti throws 6 different pitches: curveball, 4-seam, sweeper, sinker, cutter, changeup. Let's hope that they're able to, I like that idea. Just like be patient and make them pay for the walks that are surely going to come. Hopefully we'll be able to do that and then get another gem out of Chase Burns. It's tough to, rely on a guy so young. It's like, hey, we need you to pitch amazing for us to even have a chance. But like, it's starting to feel that way because of just like the state of the bullpen, the state of the rest of the starting pitching, the state of the offense. It's like, we're going to need something here. So hopefully they're able to do that, able to go home happy on Grogu bobblehead night.
If that is their philosophy, hopefully they use ABS to their favor, unlike the last couple of weeks. One final super chat coming in from John Thompson. $10 super chat says, thanks for the show, fellas. We appreciate you, John. Appreciate the support. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chatterbox Reds. I'll be back tomorrow with Greg Kuffner for post-game show in the 9th inning. Looking forward to seeing you all back here then, when hopefully we can snap this 8-game losing streak. Until next time, for Mike Hart, I'm Craig Sandlin. This has been Chatterbox Reds. We'll see everybody.